And we're back. Today is Wednesday, December 23rd. These will be some weekend holds probably. You can buy some tomorrow, Christmas Eve. May not be the best idea for some people, especially given the fact that the markets may fluctuate. You know, a lot of pump and dumps may be happening, so just be careful. But these stocks will be really, really good from today, Thursday, Friday, and then next Monday. A few of these stocks we called last week. We're not going to really do too much deep dive into those. I'm just going to mention them quickly and then move on. But we got about 12 to 14 new stocks we haven't talked about in a long time. With that being said, these videos' goal is to teach you, be a 9-to-5 trader, beginner, intermediate. The videos are about 20 to 30 minutes, sometimes longer. I insist, if that's too long for you, just to skip around. You can click the timestamps at the bottom. If you see a stock you like, listen. If you don't, just skip it. The average watch time is about 10 minutes for a reason. Most folks don't watch the whole thing. If you do, tweet, I appreciate you. If not, I'm gonna try and start cutting down a little bit, make it 15 to 20 minutes if possible. But again, some days with 15 stocks, that's just not possible for me, right? The idea is quality over quantity. I want to have as much good information as possible. We're not going to cut corners for time purposes. You can always speed up my voice if you need to. But 15 to 25 minutes is the goal. With that being said, as I waste more time, let's hop into these stocks. So again, above us is all the stocks for the day. We're going to roll through them as quickly as possible, give you guys the quantity and the quality you guys prefer, and really get this popping. No cap. First is ACCO. If you see a vertical orange line, I'm going to keep these from now on. These are when I called the stock, just for historical purposes. I did call it right here, and it did roll up. It would be up about 18% on that big run, but this looks like a channel to me. The reason I say that is the bottoms match perfectly to the tops. That's a really good sign of a channel forming. So you have some room to drop. I mean, arguably, you want to have it hit 833, which is a good, 2% away, if that's going to be your play for the day. If this opens up tomorrow, as you can see, big red, small red, right? If this does, in fact, go green tomorrow, I would go long, because then this possibly is going to be the new bottom, right? Because you have a lot of interjunctions happening right here, right? Is that a word? Maybe. But you have a lot of intersections happening right here. A lot of stuff holding price at this area. So if it holds here tomorrow and goes long, we should see it hit the top of the channel. If it dies down to here, that's even better. If it breaks down to here, all you know is you have a channel. If it dies here, you have a whole brand new channel forming. So the more breaks you sell and rebuy in, the better value you're going to get eventually. But this looks like a really nice channel play for me. If we extend left, it's always important to do that. Maybe you'll see some other stuff line up. And again, you could possibly argue if you were to activate this and move it down, right, does anything line up here? Kind of, sort of, not really. So I wouldn't consider that a big deal. But this is a great channel play. Let's check the indicators. They look pretty good. Stochastic says it's oversold. RSI is fair, which is at this price makes a lot of sense. MACD needs a crossover, but again, it looks like it goes red, green. So if we zoom in, hopefully this starts to peak out and turn around. It looks like a 50 MA bounce play as well. Now, it doesn't really bounce off the 50 historically. It likes to hover on the 200. So, again, I would let it bounce off the 50. You get a high volume green candle. That's a great sign. But a high volume red one, so it may reverse it back. But the stochastic does say that we have a... Ooh, is that a divergence? Possible? Yeah, you could say that's a divergence. Right here. No, doesn't line up perfectly. But, I mean, even over here, though. Nope, that's right. So there's no divergences yet. But again, a really easy channel play. You have the 50 EMA as your stop loss to let it go long, and a possible support right here. It's all fair value here. And again, with the past of it all, that kind of makes sense that this would be considered fair value. But ACCO, a great play to go long on tomorrow. Next is ADC, Agree Realty Corp. Really quickly, I already covered this one. We called it over here. We said this is a triangle. You would have bought in, been up 3%, and now it died on you. Again, this is an area of support. Anywhere from here up, anywhere in this area is an area of support. If it goes all the way along and taps our volume line and this orange line and comes back down, that's a great sign that it's still alive. And again, this may not be a triangle. This could very easily just be a channel play, right? This is, besides this outlier and that outlier, it's still technically a channel play. I could come over here and say, well, technically it's gotten higher lows, hence it being a triangle. Now again, this wick is a little disconcerting. I mean, you could probably come over here and make it work. But again, if it's just a channel play, this area is still a great value. Let's skip the indicators because we've already done this one last week. You can check them out there. AEP we've called multiple times. Again, we're not going to waste a lot of time on this one. It's a fantastic channel. I mean, it just keeps going up and down. We called it over here. It bursted up that same day, 3%, and then it's died on us. So not much movement so far. That's our most recent call. We did call it over here too. So do I think it's going to live here? No, it might. The reason is that it's still technically downtrending. Until it gets into this area, I would consider it uptrending because it hasn't yet hit and bounced. It's still going down. It does have a history, though, of showing life here, right? Even here, it died and went back up. It died. It died. So, again, this may not be the best play, but given this strong support area, if it does live here, an easy 6 or 7%, a great beginner stock. Again, let's skip the studies because you can watch this one 4 or 5 times before. Again, price action says it all. AMH, what we called last week as well. It's a simple triangle play, right? It's ascending, higher lows almost perfectly. So you have a good percent to drop. Now, would I possibly risk a big move for a percent? Usually not. That's usually not my cup of tea. Usually I'll go in a little bit early. As most of you know, I go in and wait 4 or 5 days for a really big move. So again, let's see it kind of come down a little bit because we still have a really big red one. And historically, when we see big red ones, we see not too often do we see really big green ones. We see little red ones and maybe a bullish engulfing possibly. I wouldn't expect too much movement tomorrow, but you're going to miss a big move if you don't buy into it. This is a perfect exciting triangle. Again, when it breaks out, we're talking easily 9 or 10%, if not newer highs. And then this is how I get my runners, right? We get these kinds of setups. They go long and they keep going long. It's like, well, how'd you see it coming? I didn't. I just saw a setup. I went long and I held. So I like the setup. Let's check the indicators because I like it so much. And this is why it's working out so well. There's 200 EMA lines supporting it. The 50 just broke, which is fine. It does respect it off bounces. So once it comes down to 28.90, 29 in this area, I would definitely go long. If it dives even more, we're gonna get eventually a divergence. I don't see one yet. It's actually technically a bearish divergence because those don't match up. But again, we know that there's still plenty of area for turning around. MACD just crossed negative, so this is gonna probably drop a little bit more tomorrow. But once it kind of comes down, you have 2 options. You buy at 28.94. It may drop to the volume line, which seems to be a channel recently, which it could be making a channel. If that's the case, you can make 4 or 5 easy % on this. But again, the goal is never to make anything less than 10. So we'll let it ride, but AMH is a great setup. Next is AMRX. Again, we've called it, so let's not take too long, but I do want to check the studies on this one. We called it over here. I said this is a great area of support, and then the next day blasted up almost 20%. That was dope. So as of right now, we could easily say that this golden line is definitely our best area to buy into. And again, I don't think this was an accident. I mean, it peaked out for a reason. So I think it hit that and kind of died. But again, it's showing life here. And it does have a history of buying off and taking off again. So it has a good history of blasting off. Maybe we'll see an easy 8%, maybe as much as 20 if it does what we want it to do. Big key there, if it does what we want it to do. But this is an area of support that's going to be your stop loss, 3%. Let it go. If it dies, you buy back in around $4. You go along and have a good old time. Let's check the indicators. And this is where convergence becomes such a powerful thing. You see volume area, that red line, you can't see it that well, is literally right in there too with the 50 and the 10. That's a lot. With that being said too, the stochastic isn't oversold. It's not fair. I mean, it has some room to run up. It also has some room to drop. That's fantastic. RSI is a fair value. MACD just crossed. So again, it looks like over here, see this whole run up over here? It's just kind of like bouncing around. I have a feeling if it does do what I want it to do, it's really going to run long and run really, really well. So all those supports beneath it, AMRX is a gem. I like it a lot. Next is AOS. Again, very quickly, let's talk about it. We talked about this last week. This is just a beautiful run up. Now, again, this is unsustainable. It's never going to last years of doing this, right? We're on a month 8 of it doing this. So let's take a chill pill. It did technically break it and then came right back into it. And again, it's broken it before, so I wasn't that worried. And again, you have very sequential lower highs. And again, they line up so perfectly. Again, that's bears taking control. And so I would be careful to think that this is going to eventually break. Now, it is a beautiful ascending triangle formation. So I'd love to see it show some life tomorrow. It may, again, consolidate here to make a big move, which is fine. Because if it does go long here and breaks what we want, at least 4%. But again, this is a great beginner stock to get your nerves up. Let's check the indicators real quick. So it looks like the 200 is going to be your stop loss. Let it go down to 200 and right away back up. That looks like it seems to be the pace it likes to go. Stochastic says it's overdone, right? It did have a huge move, and this move has been massive over time. That is a support area that should line up with the 200. So if you haven't bought in yet, maybe wait for it to drop down, maybe another 2%, which would give you about 4, 5, 6% of earnings to be made. RSI can drop a little bit. So again, I wait on AOS just a little bit. The stock's showing its hand to us. Let's see what happens. Maybe it's going to be a new channel up here. Maybe it's going to keep going long. Let's just wait and find out. ARCT, I'll take a second to talk about. We called it over here. I said, hey, if I'm going to buy a stock long, it's going to be over here. It died. This is where you would have bought it in at, right in this area, because I saw this. It would have died, but then you would have made 28%. If you bought it in originally, you would have made 18%. So again, that's why I play these giant run-up plays. It would have been concerning until we saw newer highs over here, over that one. That's noise. What do I see? I see an area of support right here. Okay, in this area. And again, your best value will be down in this area. But I have 2 trend lines. Both do line up at this area. Now, again, which one do I believe? I couldn't tell you. It just depends on what other people see. But I think those are good. You could also even attach these and say there's a third one. And again, there may be very, very little weight or a lot of weight to this. Because again, a lot of these are this would be the third hit. But if it lives here and goes long, gonna be a nice play. Let's check the indicators real quick. So it looks like it was a 50 play, and it bounced off the 50. It bounced off the 50. And it's bouncing off the 50 again. The stochastic said that's worn out and has some room to run. Technically, that's a divergence. That's showing higher, and this is showing lower, which shows there's some power behind it. MACD just crossed fair value. So again, the 50 MA is going to be your call here. If it really dies tomorrow, you could lose a lot of money, 6%, if not more. But again, I think that this white line will be your best value if tomorrow doesn't hold. But ARCT running forward, must have some fundamentals behind it because it's really running, and I like that a lot. Next is ATO, my fraternity. What's up, boys? So we called it over here and it died on us. Again, even I have losers too. I also have winners. So we called it over in this area, and then it just died. Not only died 4%, so God forbid. But this is your best value area. Now, it's at $92, so there's definitely a chance. Being at $92, it can run lower. Don't be like, oh, it's so far up there. How is it possibly going to fall any farther? Well, you can look over here and see, okay, this is technically the best area to buy into is definitely in this area as a drop down. But again, you could easily see $87. You could easily see probably close to $84. Now, if it gets down to the 70s, okay, that's going to be an area that you can definitely make some good profit off of. But again, historically, it was running up to the 120s. So you have plenty of room to drop or go up, most likely go up. But this is a great area value, simply enough with the price action. If it lives here, easily going to make 10%, if not more. You'll probably break above this, test it, and take off. Indicators we'll skip. I did this the other day with this one. Check out last Thursday. But again, the price action itself is fantastic. BTG, one that I have called, but I'll take some more time on. We called it over in this area. We made some money, and then it died, and now it's kind of making a triangle. And again, it's all about subjective. Do you follow this right here? Like that's going to be the triangle. Or maybe you're going to take this out, and you're going to kind of make it more widened. Right? It's all about preference of what you like. I just did this. I'm sure I could probably bring this in farther. You could also argue that this is technically an ascending triangle if you start from here. Right, because you can look like D. That's not perfect, right? But even by cursor there, you can just see like right there, you see higher lows, but the same highs, right? From here, that's a wick, here, here, here. So it definitely has a really good chance of eventually breaking out. Now, how strong, I don't know, but that looks like it could easily be a triangle as well. We'll get rid of that real quick, right? So you can see it's kind of doing a ascending triangle within a downward triangle, technically. So I think it has great potential, right? Your stop loss will be 545 anywhere in here, but again, on the large scale, you know, it could technically drop lower down here, but again, it has a history of consolidating, making big moves, consolidating, making big moves. So I think if it really does do what it wanted to do, easy 10%, if not more, back up to 27%. But again, just the price action alone is really pretty. Let's check the indicators. So it looks like there's not an accident that this 200 kind of lines up with this line. That's going to be the line to break. The 50 did line up with that support resistance area in the middle I drew. On purpose, I assume. Stochastic just reversed. It has plenty of room to run. It has plenty of power behind it. RSI is MACD is about to cross. RSI is a fair value. So they're not really for you or against you. The big thing is once it breaks the 200, that's going to be the big move. So you have a good 5% to run until any kind of resistance, which is really great. And if it goes up there and makes it, and then breaks that, you got a big winner in BTG. CGEN, let's take a minute. I did call this last week. I said, hey, this is the lowest it's been in a long time buying in. If you listened to me, you would be up a good 23%. I know I had a friend who did. Kobe, he's up at 9%. I said, hold that bad boy. Hope you listen to me. And here we are now. So it came up. That's a huge move. So it had to die down somewhat. This is a support area. No, I did not draw this retroactively. I had this drawn before. And again, this could be anywhere from here to about here, right? You have plenty of room for it to be an area of value, area of support. So if it lives here tomorrow and bounces a little bit and shows some life, I'd definitely go long. It does have a history though, right, of really big run-ups and really big run-downs. Run up, run down. So it does have a history, and even over here, you can see blast off, dead, blast off, dead, blast off, dead. So like it does have a history of making big moves just to fall back down a little bit higher. So I like to see it live here. And again, I guess you could draw this and be like, well, this is kind of like a trend line area. It could definitely drop a little bit. It's too short a time. I wouldn't consider that. So a really good value if it lives here. I would definitely go long. Again, I'm going to skip the indicators. You can watch that yourself. But again, from the other week, but it looks pretty good here. Some newer ones. DD. We call DD historically once or twice because of this wedge that we bought into. And now it's kind of dying off. Now we have this lower area value. That's going to be the best area value. And then this recent 5-hitter. 1, 2, 3, 4, possibly 5. If it lives here and goes in the channel and lives, fantastic. You guys have a really big runner. If it dies, you can see it hitting this channel, this support line right here, and going long again. If that doesn't work, you're going to be buying in closer to a retest of these resistance line right here. And again, I could definitely kerfuffle with this and make it a little bit better. And again, I draw most of these weeks ago, and now I'm testing with them again. That's definitely a better line like that. And again, I would be remiss not to make it a channel just because of these highs up here. So just to make sure we have an area, I would do that. That's going to be your secondary play, right? I guess your thirdary play. Play off the channel if it doesn't live here. Cut it after 67.50. And then again, you can buy in $65. Maybe this is going to be a support area. But if not, that's going to be the buy-in when these two channels meet up. Let's check the indicators. Simple. 50 EMA play. That's all it's going to be. So let it die down to the 50 EMA line. If it holds, go long. If it dies, wait for the 200, which again will be in convergence over here. Now the stochastic says it can't get much lower. That's a choice. The RSI says it's a fair value. So I think it's going to drop maybe a tad bit more, and then it's really going to take off. And again, you could point out any divergences over here. I mean, there's full of them. Right there to there is definitely not what it's showing, right? So this definitely has some staying power to it. May make some really big moves. We just got to see the MACD curl a little bit. RSI is a fair price. Good kitty. So there's plenty of room to run, but the DD is a fantastic purchase for the future. So next is DOC. I've had a friend call this one quite a few times. It worked out very well. Now we have two options. Either it's going to be a channel play between our volume lines, which is absolutely gorgeous. But what I'm seeing too, though, is higher lows. Even if it's over a few months, right? Higher low, and now potentially a higher low over here. And again, I would be remiss not to mention this could easily be just a channel, right? It does have an area melting down over here. Now it's melting up. So I do not know if this is a triangle, which again, the secondary line should show, again, possible higher lows. Hey, bud. Which is really nice. So I think that's really, really good. And again, if it doesn't live here and it drops down, you know, to this area 1734, it's only 2% away. I mean, you're not really, you know, it's okay. But if, you know, if it doesn't live here, buy in down here and go long, because that's where a lot of convergence is happening. If it does live here, easy, 6 or 7%. But I mean, something's got to give. It's going to either be this resistance area or the support area. It's in the middle, so I'm going to kind of guess and say we're showing higher lows with a few small dips down, then it comes back. But again, it hasn't technically tapped the upper area yet, but it technically hasn't tapped down here yet, so it can go either way. So if you're nervous, let DOC play its way out. But again, DOC is a fantastic setup. Let's check the indicators. Simply put, 250 or right above it, which is not great, but also, again, it has a history of kind of, you know, canoodling around it and then breaking above it. It seems to respect the 50 more than 200, so that's not great news. So maybe watch this one to die a little bit. RSI is fair price. Stochastic can drop down a little bit farther. MACD is stupid. So not really for you, kind of more against you for the indicators. But again, if it shows some life tomorrow at this area, this volume area of support, if it shows some life, you could easily go long for at least 5%, if not more, like 7 or 8%. So at least for now, DOC is a great stock for your future reference, and just have it on a watch list. It looks really good. Not to be mistaken with DOCU sign. This is a potential channel. It tapped once, twice, 3 times, I guess technically 4 times, 5 times, so it's shown some life. Then again, I guess one could come over here and say, well, it's a channel. No, it's too stark. It's not going to live like that. So that's a good sign of a potential ascending triangle break. As you can see, tapped up, life, tapped up, life, tapped up. So I like this green line, and it's only 3,000 volume, but it's showing that folks are buying in early. Again, big red, smaller red, green. Now that's a good sign. If that's red tomorrow, I'd wait. But again, this is definitely, we bought in over here. Look at that. Would have been a great run up of 19%. So it's a great area. It's a great setup. And again, though, if this happens to be a channel, which does happen. Thank you, Gremlin. This becomes a channel more than anything, and it dies on us, we just buy in lower and get a better deal. But there's a good chance, given just the history of the stock, again, all the way over here, you can just see it's gotten higher and higher and higher as time goes on. Let's check the indicators. Simple play. Looks like it's going to be a 50 MA bounce if it does come down farther, but it seems to respect price action more. It does respect the 200 as well. So I would say this probably has a bit of room to drop, a good $5 to drop. Stochastic saying there's a divergence almost. Then again, because you can go here and move your way over, and then you can come over here and say that this is technically a tad bit higher, but again, if it dies on us, that's almost better for us for the future. But again, it's a great stock to buy for future reference, for future plays. DOCU is a great setup. Next is EMP, my initials, and also an attack on electricity. It's pretty gnarly. This is definitely, could be a horizontal line as well. I mean, you could argue that that is also a resistance. It had a retest and then it died. So again, it looks like a gigantic ascending triangle. Those are daddy's favorite. This area is an area of support, but it is a good 0.8% away, which tells you this is not going to be the biggest money-making play. It's pretty consolidated. If you go long, easily 3%. If it dies here, you'll lose 3%. A good 1-to-1 ratio. I'm not going to bother with the indicators. if you're a beginner, it's a great stock to hold on to and watch and track. You know, this whole run up looks like it's a huge run. All right, it's only 9%, right? It ain't that big of a deal. But again, if this drops the yellow channel, buy in. It's really easy money. If it hits the channel, you're making a good 5%, 9%, probably 4 or 5 over here. But when this does break out, it's going to be some pretty mega big moves. But EMP, we'll skip the indicators. Not enough money to really worry about it. But again, just a great setup. FR I really enjoy, simply because the red line, if you go back and check my other videos with this one, it was down here. And as time went on, volume shifted up higher. Uh-oh, that means it's now a gravitational force. Thank you, sir. Hi. Sit down. Come here. Lay in your seat. Good boy. So, this is technically an ascending triangle as well. Boom, boom, boom. Now, that didn't reach it, which should be a tad bit concerning. But again, it was still technically downtrending, right? And then it kind of tapped back into it. So, I wouldn't be that concerned yet. Just from that. I mean, I would be concerned if it doesn't make higher highs again. That would be a little bit concerning. But FR is a great setup. It just tapped in here and went up a good 5%, and now it's dying a little bit. I think you buy in here anywhere between here and the $40.50 area is a fantastic deal. This could be a channel though. I mean, like you could easily look over here. If I were to move this real quick and just move this down here, or don't listen to me, that's fine. Stupid. Move down here and say that this is now actually a channel play. It's gonna keep going channel. Well, we're buying towards the middle, but again, given just the stop loss area, you know, $40 in this area, it's not that bad. But if it does go long here and it lives easy 8%, and again, once this breaks out, because it is an insane triangle, you're going to make dumb money once it finally does that. Let's check the indicators. They look pretty good. Again, that's your 200 it was riding over and bouncing off of, and now it's kind of dipped below it, trying to break above it. But given recent history, it doesn't really seem to respect it that much. I mean, it respects the 200, the 50 not so much. So wait for it to break the 200 for sure to go super long on it. Our size of fair value, stochastic is kind of curling down, saying it's running out of life, which it does in this area. I mean, you can see, look back historically, a lot of times it reaches this, you know, plus 21, it kind of dies on us. And if it comes back down, that's totally fine, right? It's going to come back down to our channel, we'll play it there. Let's see what it does, but again, FR is a great choice for the future. Next is NG. This is not a great line here. I don't love it, but again, this channel up, you know, shows higher lows to this time period, but again, you can look over here and say it also has lower highs in this time period as well, making a triangle. Now what we have to hope for though is that it shows life here. If it dies here and kind of breaks these areas, it's not a great sign of life, but this is a great value. I mean, like a decimated went down, and know what I see here? Ooh, that's a gap right there. Gaps like to be filled. There's a reason that this went up and this got filled almost exactly like this bar. It got filled. We had a little gap here, it got filled. So it looks like every single time we've had gaps, like right here, a gap like this, that wick said, close that. So that's a great sign of gravity, plus the volume line is higher. So again, it's showing it wants to go up higher. You've had higher lows over the last, you know, month, and it's gone down here again. And if this blasts off, now we're talking an easy 10%, if not more. Then eventually, again, it'll reach its newer highs over here, eventually, given the market and what it's doing. Let's check the indicators. So again, with such a stark sell-off, of course, it's beneath both MA lines, and it respects the 200 a lot. So let's hope eventually it breaks the 200 on the way up. If it doesn't, from $10 to $10.40, if it doesn't break that, that's kind of concerning. But again, let's look for a high volume node to really show us some strength. And this is what's weird, is this was a huge red one, and then the next day it peaked up like that. That's weird. But, you know, fair price. Stochastic can't get too much lower. One could argue a divergence right here and up, and then here and across was equal. So I guess that's kind of a divergence. Gato. So it looks like the MACD is rounding off. So again, those are all really good. It just needs to break the 200 to really go long. But again, this is a great setup for the future. OXLC, this line over here is, you know, it breaks through some lines. But again, a lot of times old resistances become new supports. And again, it was using this as a support for a very long time, and then it broke it, and then it used it as a resistance, broke it, used it again as a support. So that's why I kept it, and again, it's lining up perfectly. And then again, once, twice, maybe 3 times over here. So these line up together almost perfectly. You are obsessed. And then this can technically be a support area. Now again, has it been proven yet? Not too much. But again, just given this move over here, it went up and then it came down. But I guess it technically came down and then consolidated and then made a new channel up. Well, one could easily argue that this ascending triangle over here, and again, we do that. You can see this is the same triangle over time and it broke up. Maybe it's doing the same exact thing over here. It's going to make some new highs over here, come back down to kind of consolidate higher towards the peak here and then break out. So again, this may also just be a long-term ascending triangle. Do that. You can see how it's boop, boop, and now it's kind of getting closer to the top here. That's a sign of strength as well. But again, if it does show life here easily, if it runs again 15%, if it dies at these 2 lines in the support, you just sell it and rebuy in closer to $4.90. Easy play. Let's check the indicators. This could very easily change your mind. It looks like a 200 EMA play all the way. You see how it kind of bounces around it? And again, it breaks it. So again, keep that in mind as it breaks through it. And it looked to be a 50 EMA bounce play from before. That didn't live. So I could see this possibly dropping down to the $5.09 area. Stochastic says it's fair. RSI is fair. MACD says it can't get much lower. So again, I could see it, if it kind of muddles around here and shows some good life. RSI says it has room to run either way. Stochastic says it has room to run either way. But again, I think maybe it'd be smart to kind of wait a little bit and see what happens. If it does drop to the 200 and then it kind of like breaks a tiny bit and shows some life, that's where I would definitely go long. But again, OXLC is a great buy for the future. Next is SXC. This is a old trend line, right? It was like being a resistance, then it acted as a support. Right there, see that? It broke it, went, oh, I'll test that again and take off. It also could have shown this channel as a resistance, and then it broke it, retested that, and took off. Who knows? What I do know is they're very close together. We're talking maybe 9 cents. So a good 2% difference right there. You buy in right now, there you see a big red, medium red, small red, green, a nice slow change of direction. So this is going to be a resistance right in this area. So 453 will definitely be some area. You may see some stoppages. But again, that's 6% away. That's still some good gains. So let it, it showed head, shoulders, and then no second shoulder. It just died. But again, if it shows life here tomorrow, or it kind of comes down to 417, I'd definitely retry that. And again, you could even argue that, it already broke that support, and now it's testing the trend line, old resistance as a support again. So if it shows life here, I would definitely go long and may show some really good profits for you. Let's check the indicators. A simple 200 EMA play looks to be developing. And again, it breaks it. So again, I wouldn't put too much emphasis on the EMA line. What I do see though is the RSI is at 27. Sheesh. That hasn't happened in almost 6 months. So that's a great sign for strength there. Stochastic says it can't get much lower. That's great. And then the MACD says it can't get much lower either. So maybe you want to check the fundamentals, Google this ticker, Sun Coke Energy. Maybe something happened that made it drop so hard after being bought so high. But again, this area is a great area of value. RSI looks good. Stochastic looks good. I would definitely go long. Last is UMH, and we've been calling that since over here. I called it over here and said, go long, and you made money. Then I said, hey, it dropped down, go long, and you would have made money, because it's kind of what I do. And now it's retesting this volume line as a support. And again, it tested over here. Okay, it went up and said, test. And then it took off, and now it's saying, test. And so if it breaks this, which it could, I mean, that's a pretty strong red one there. It's a pretty thick boy. If it does break here, it could easily drop to maybe about 1475, maybe a little bit lower. But again, if it does drop into our channel again, buy it, whatever, dude. If it does drop hard and hit this 1415 in the channel, definitely buy it. But again, this was a beautiful ascending triangle. You could have made a bunch of money on it as it kind of went up. And again, you see this right here. You kind of see how over here is the same triangle. Then it broke it, and then it did it again over here and broke it. nothing saying this can't happen again over here. So, you know, you compact that, you know, a standard triangle in this area, a new one over here, you know, and then over here, a possible new one that'll be occurring. So I like that a lot. It's a really good setup. Let's check the indicators. And it looks like it's been a 50 EMA bounce play, plus it doesn't like to break the 200. So again, I think this price action takes precedent over that. But again, if it does in fact die, you're going to bounce around 1435. You want to probably bind around there in this channel support area and definitely go along. But the stochastic says it can't get much lower. RSI is fair. MACD is tanking on you. So a lot of these things point for a good play tomorrow or the next day. One last play to mention was CLNE. We've been playing it over here, and you can see I even called it at $2.04. I said, hey, right over here. I said, hey, you should buy this. And that was around 11.9. Folks said, okay, and they did. And then it ran up almost 46%. I bought it on 11.14. I bought it right about here. I said, we'll test it over here. It broke up, and then I did not sell it, and now that was my first, since making this YouTube channel, my first 100% play. That was a good day for us yesterday. FEYE, for a lot of you guys bought in, that was close to, like, you know, almost 100% play as well. And then AEYE recently was really good, almost 60%. My friend mentioned Surf the other day. I called Surf over here, and he said he sold it for about 60%. So we've had a lot of really good plays recently. And that's it. Those are all the plays for Wednesday, December 23rd, as I check the clock again in the calendar because I have a bad memory. We'll see you guys tomorrow for a quick video. It is Christmas Eve. I may not make one. We'll see. I was on vacation earlier, and then no one's going to be buying on Friday probably, and holding through the weekend's not really a lot of folks' thing. I'll see how we feel and what our day looks like tomorrow. But again, these plays are great for today, Thursday, Friday. I'll wait till Monday. With that being said, make sure to like, subscribe, and hit the bell notification. We'll see you guys probably tomorrow, if not next Sunday, in about 4 days for some more content. Have a good one. I'll see you guys next time.